Alright, here is the second video for this trig function standard for the spring 2019 Math 3 second semester final review. Remember, like I say on all the videos, this series of videos is not all inclusive of all the concepts you may be tested on. So make sure you study everything in every book and every note and every spot check we've done all year long. The next one, unit circle, memorize it. Okay, you guys, can we fill this out really quick? Can we fill this out really quick? Yes, we can. How do we fill this out really quick? We start here. Okay? You have to plant your flag somewhere. You have to remember some angle. I always remember the sine of 30. So the y coordinate of 30 degrees is 1/2. So I always plant my flag right there. That's how I start remembering. Now we're going up from the x-axis. So that means the y values are going to increase. So that's 1. And then rad 2 over 2, and then rad 3 over 2. 1, 2, 3. And then switch it to come back down for cosine. So 1/2, rad 2 over 2, and rad 3 over 2. Okay? Now there are several ways. I wish I could get up there at the screen and show you this, but I'm writing. There are several ways to reflect and figure out all of the other angles. But basically, if I reflect this one over this one, which sign changes? It's this sign changes. The y one changes. So you're going to have rad 3 over 2 and negative 1/2. And this one is the same way. Rad 2 over 2 and negative rad 2 over 2. And then this one goes to 1/2 and negative rad 3 over 2. Okay? How about if I reflect from this one over the y-axis, which is the one that turns negative? It's the x that turns negative. So this is going to be the exact same over here, except it's negative 1/2. And the y coordinate stays unchanged. This one is the one that goes negative. Is this making sense, boys and girls? This one changes. Now, it should be, once you know that all students take calculus, what do we know about all the coordinates in quadrant 3? They're all negative. So it's the same thing as this. When you rotate it 180 degrees, they all become negative. So this one is the one that goes there, which is the same thing as reflecting this one down. Rad 3 over 2 and negative 1/2. Negative rad 2 over 2, negative rad 2 over 2. And let's see, it's negative 1/2, negative rad 3 over 2. So boom, we just created the unit circle and it took us like 2 minutes. Only thing you got to figure out here is also this one is 0, 1, 1, 0, negative 1, 0, and 0, negative 1 for the pi over 2's. Now that's for the coordinates. How about the radian measures? Remember, we're going to go up by pi over, what's this one, pi over 6 or pi over 3? Pi over 6. It's pi over 6, pi over 4, and pi over 3. And you can count pizza slices to figure out all the rest of them. But you got to remember that all the 30s have a pi over 6. So pi over 6, that means this one's a 5 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6, and 11 pi over 6. And then the pi over 3's are all the 60s. So pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3, 5 pi over 3. And then the pi over 4's just go 1, 3, 5, and 7, which is nice. 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, and 7 pi over 4. Now, I think you guys should watch this video a couple times because it's probably going to do you some good to generate your own unit circle when you start the final. Probably a good idea. Okay, real quick one. Everybody should be able to figure out the question about, hey, if I've got the tide, I've got a maximum, minimum, what's the midline, so what's the amplitude? Let's just say for giggles, the maximum was 10 and the minimum was 2. So what's that difference? What's the difference between 10 and 2? Somebody say 8. 8. So you got to divide that. The difference is 8. So half of that is 4. So this means the midline is 6. The amplitude is 4. Remember, amplitude is equal to half of the max minus min. Any questions on that one right there? Okay, somebody says no, so I guess there's no questions.